Hi, and welcome to Messenger. I'm so excited you've joined us today for an inspiring episode. We're diving into the story of David, a man after God's own heart, and focusing on his incredible attitude of thanksgiving. David's life reminds us that gratitude isn't just about saying thank you when things go well. It's about trusting God through life's ups and downs and celebrating his love every step of the way. In Psalm 107, verse 1, David writes, "Give thanks to the Lord, for he is good. His love endures forever." These words remind us that God's love is constant and unchanging, no matter what we face. Today, we'll explore stories of faith and encouragement from Canadian Adventist Messenger Magazine that shows how cultivating a heart of thanksgiving can strengthen our trust in God and transform the way we see the world. Stick with us for an episode filled with hope and inspiration. David's story teaches us that gratitude is an act of faith. When David faced Goliath, he trusted in God's power. When he was on the run from Saul, he praised God for being his refuge. And when he became king, he worshiped God with all his heart. David knew that God's love was worth celebrating. So join us today as we explore what it means to be grateful. Let's turn to an extraordinary personal journey. Our next guest, Candace John, has an incredible testimony of survival, faith, and perseverance. After surviving a devastating car accident that left him with over 26 fractures and a long road to recovery, he shares how his faith in God carried him through the most difficult moments of his life. Candace, thank you so much for joining us today and for being willing to share your powerful story. Let's start at the beginning. Can you tell us a bit about your life before the accident?
Before the accident, I was a nurse at the jail in Lindsay, which is north of Ontario, and I'm a correctional nurse, also a mental health nurse.
What do you remember most vividly about the moment of the accident and the immediate aftermath?
Well, that morning, it was my shift to work on the weekend, and I left my house very early in the morning. I think it was a little after 6 o'clock, and it started to rain, but the rain was a soft drizzle, and I started off my journey on Durham 57, but the rain got heavier. As soon as I crossed over one of the major roads, northbound, the rain got so heavy that the road had a lot of water. I drive stick shift, so it was very difficult to drive that road. And I remember going only 40 kilometers an hour. And as I started climbing the hill to Durham Concession 6 near Enniskillen, the wall of water coming down, and it's like the sky and the earth meet. It was black and rain was falling so heavy. It was very difficult to drive up the hill. I made it up the hill, and I can remember on my right was a volunteer firefighter little station there. As soon as I made it up the hill and I started going around a small bend and make it to the second bend, my wipers was going very fast. I looked down and I saw my speed, and that was the last thing I saw. I just look up and I flick my eyes. In the distance, I see a white light coming towards me, and I know it was a car. And I just put that hand up to block my head, and I just shouted, Jesus. And it was like a bomb let off. And I felt my car spin to the other side. It happened so quickly. And immediately after, I remember, I don't know how that arm found itself outside the door, but that arm was not injured. And I immediately took this arm and I pulled this arm out of the car, and I looked and I just saw white. Rain was washing my arm and I could see my bones sticking out, but the
Oh
arm
no.
was only hanging up by a ligament. So I put that arm inside of the car, and almost immediately after, I realized I am pinned in that car. And I felt like somebody light me on fire from my feet to my head. And I started crying. And I'm thinking that something is wrong. Because at the moment when it happened, I said, I'm okay. But I was not okay. I remember crying, somebody help me, help me, help me. But the rain was coming and I was getting wet because the front part of the car met the back part of the car. Everything that was at front, and the steering wheel is on my chest, the airbag exploded, my legs are pinned and I can't move. The only thing I could move was my right hand. And somebody came to my window, and I remember the calling, and the first set of firefighters that came was the volunteers at Enniskillen. They came with a small truck, and I am hearing them saying, we're trying to take your door out, but the jaws of life we have is too weak. And I heard they calling the firefighters from the other station. They came, and up to a day like today, when I closed my eyes, I could almost see everywhere the people were standing, and they were wet in the rain. Then I realized I couldn't get out, and I started to feel as if I couldn't breathe. And it was on my left side. I remember one of the firefighters came to my door, almost to my face, and he's asking me my name. So I said my name so quickly, and I told him my wife's name, my number to call, and I said where am I going? I'm a nurse at the super jail in Lindsay. Please call them. Here's the number. I am saying everything very, very quickly. Now at that moment, my heart is ready to jump out of my chest. I'm in so much pain and I cannot find a word to describe the amount of pain that I'm in. And I don't know my condition at that moment, but I know something, I'm going. I'm dead today. For the small moment, my brain is racing. I'm thinking of everything at this one moment. I can't concentrate on anything. And I remember hearing one of the firefighters calling, and I heard, I don't know if that's the code name for the air ambulance. So I heard him saying, Orange One, where are you? He said, we are over Aurelia. And he says, flares are up, Durham 57, we need you now. And I heard he said, no, there's no power lines, come now. And a brief moment later, I heard the helicopter landed. I was conscious throughout the whole thing. And a brief moment later, there was a gentleman, and they came and they put a collar on my neck. So I was braced, and I couldn't move, I couldn't turn, and then the paramedic came to my right door, the back. That was the part of the car that was not damaged, and he was coaching me along. And for a brief moment, I felt the pain was out of this world. And I felt as if I was going. I reached a place where I almost lost consciousness. And I felt at peace. And I'm praying my prayer. And I'm saying, Jesus, I have lived a good life. I have a wife and a young family. Please take care of them because I'm coming home today. And I started drifting, and the paramedic woke me up. And when he woke me up, I felt a little sense of anger because I'm in pain and I can't get out. And I said, get out, let me get out. And he said, we can't get you out. And I said, but I can't breathe on my, he said, try to breathe on, with the right side of your lung. And I said, how do I do that? He said, every time you want to breathe, raise your arm so that that lung could get inflated. I know something was wrong here. And then they came, and the big truck came, and they started cutting the car. They took out that door, the back door, and the middle pillar. And I heard when the firefighter said, we don't know how to get this guy out of that car. And that moment of horror just swept over me. I'm finished. I can't get out. I'm going to die in this car. But I don't know whether I'm bleeding because I'm wet and I'm cold. Then something just snapped inside of me. And I just said, my car doesn't have a chassis. Please cut the car underneath me. And they said, yes, that's what we'll do. So they started cutting the car where my seat was. And they started cutting, and they said, we'll have to block it and press it down. And they will count to 3, and they will pull me out. And they have a soft board they will put underneath me, and they will put me on a gurney after that. Well, I said, no, I will count, you pull. And then I count 1, 2, 3. I took the deepest breath I could take, and they pulled me out. I felt half of my body stayed in the car. But they managed to get me out. They put me on a stretcher, and they wheeled me, and I could feel every bump. And I remember when they put me into the helicopter, I could feel the gurney I was on. It was swiveling in position in the helicopter, but I'm strapped, and all I could see is the roof of the helicopter. I felt the blades turning fast, and I felt the wind moving in. And for a moment, I looked at the top of the helicopter, and I go like, I always wanted to ride one of those, but what an awful way to go. And I chuckled with a little laugh, And the paramedics, they took off. And I said, well, you guys now can give me something for the pain, because I know you put an IV in that right arm. Because I'm a nurse and I know. And I said, give me some Demerol, some morphine, something, because I'm dying here. And he came, because he has to come close to me, to my face to speak, because I'm really strapped down. And then he said, we can't give you anything because it will depress your respiration. One of your lungs already collapsing, and we are over Toronto already. We're going to land very shortly. They landed, and I heard the siren went off, and I don't remember anything after that. Well, when they woke me up, I remember Nurse Joanne was right in my face. Now, I have 2 half lines going through my veins. I have a tube in my mouth. I have one in my nose. Everywhere, I'm wired. And I remember she came and she said, what's your name? And I answered, and she said, when did you come here? I said, yesterday. But with the tube in my mouth, I said, yesterday, and she's just chuckled with a laugh. And I learned later on it was not yesterday, it was 10 days later. They had me in an induced coma. I remember the doctor at St. Mike's, Dr. Henry On. I never forget that guy. He and Dr. Oliver North, amazing doctors at St. Mike's, and Dr. Shimich and all the other doctors, all the nurses there, they are wonderful people. I remember he said, when he came to at my bedside, he said, Mr. John, when you came in, we didn't know how to fix you. You were like broken. And he said, you had over 26 fractures. He said that when I came in, they worked 12 hours on one leg and they prepped the other leg and they let me rest the Sunday, and the Monday they started working on the other leg, another 12 hours. And he said, we cried over you. He said that if he walks, it will take a miracle. If he survives this, we have a lot of things that could kill him right now. It could be an emboli, it could be infection, it could be so many things. So I was in ICU for a little while, and don't know how long, because everything seems to be at that moment very vague. I'm on the heavy drugs and I can see things and I can hear things, but I cannot make sense of it all. And up to a day like today, I could see it, but everybody say that never happened. I felt sometimes in a deep depression, but I pulled myself out because one of the things is that up to a day like today, I cannot understand. I used to read the Bible. I would read people's stories, but now it's my story. I was a nurse. I take care of sick people. I was a teacher. I took care of kids. But the difficult moment came when now I have to be the one that people have to look after. I remember my wife coming, such a support. And my two children, they came all the time. And when it was time to transfer me to the rehab at Toronto Rehab, I had a lot of difficulty there because I was on a bed for a long time and I wanted to walk. I remember this particular moment, my physiotherapist, she was blind from 3 years old, she said. And she trained in England. Her name is Ruth. And that lady was amazing. And I saw the walker, a tall walker, at the corner of the room. I was in a 4-bed room, but they decided bringing people in and people going out. And I'm going like, when is my turn to go home? I was so homesick. I prayed so long. I forgot what my home had looked like. I thought I was living on a hill. I had a lot of images of, things I was seeing, but I guess it was all the medications I was taking for pain. One night, I prayed and I said, Lord, if I'm going to survive this thing, please show me a sign that you are here. And I don't know what to say, but just come to this room. I remember there was a Christian lady, she was a nurse, and she would come in the morning and she would set me up for a bed bath. And she said, Mr. John, I'm going to put the table there and I'm going to put the basin of hot water. I'm going to put your towels there and I'm going to be right back. And I took my hands, both hands. Now remember that arm could not bend. It was fixed. So it was very difficult. I was like, couldn't move that arm anywhere but, my whole body. And I started to wash. I started to wash my face. And then she came and she said, who came into the room? And I go like, nobody was here. And then she said, oh, it's a miracle. And I said, yes, last night Jesus was here. And she said, how do you know that? She said, well, the other nurse said to us that you slept throughout the night. And I'm going like, how this ever happened? Because that never happened. They used to put hot and cold packs on my feet because these 2 feet had not touched ground for 3 months. One was in a cast, and in my right knee, my kneecap cracked in 3 pieces. So they fused it together with 6 screws. And the screws, the head of the screws was pushing out through the skin and it would not heal. This got very black and necrotic. And for a moment they said, I heard the chatters like, oh, we will maybe have to amputate his leg if this thing continues. And I remember the day they took me back to St. Mike's and the plastic surgeon just took off the skin. She just cut it off and she said, oh, everything is dead. And so they did surgery. They took a graft and they did, I forget the name of the surgery, where they took the back of my calf muscles and they rotated over my knee and then they put a skin over it. And that took a while to heal. I had screws that was pushing through, so they did surgery they took some of them out. But I wanted to walk. And I said, if you came last night, Jesus, to that room and you helped me that I could wash my face and my arms and so on and so forth, then I can walk. So I said, I want that walker. And I kept asking. I'm very persistent and I'm very, I won't let go. I want to walk. And I'm thinking, there gotta be a miracle in this. And so after asking so long, one day I saw the physiotherapist came to the room and the assistant, and she said, Mr. John, what is all that talk about you walking? I said, the talk is that I'm going to walk again. And she said, well, it's not time yet. So I said, just bring me that walker and I'll show you what I'll do. Because I got my answers. And she said, what answers? And I said, Jesus was here yesterday. And he gave me the assurance I'll walk. She said, no way I'll do that. Well, the next day she came again. And the 3rd day, and then she said, okay, I give up. We'll bring this walker to you, and we'll see what you can do. So they brought the walker, they braced it, and I said, help me to sit on the side of the bed. Now remember, I never got out of that bed for 3 months. And then I said, swing me over, let my leg dangle at the side of the bed. And I said, nobody help me. And I put my hand on the top of the walker, and I said, I need to do it on my own strength. Nobody helped me. And I pulled myself up. I think I stood on my feet for just maybe about 5 seconds, and I had enough. And then I sat down, and she said, what was that for? What did you accomplish by standing on your feet for such a short time? I said, if I can stand on my feet for 5 seconds, I can do it for 5 minutes. And 5 minutes could be 5 hours. And I said, that's the beginning. And I said, I remember what my mom used to say to me. My mom said, if anything you want to do, what is your obstacle? And I said, this and that. And she said, no, that's not your obstacle. The obstacle is for you to start. And I started. And I said, well, I can walk.
What would you like to leave with our viewers today regarding the story and miracle that you experienced in your life?
One of the things I tell people is when you are a Christian, your relationship with God has to be real, and you have to be able to witness to the people around you. Show them as much love as you can and help people as much as you can. Live life loud. Help people, because the day will come when you will need help, those very people will come to your aid. And that's what happened to me. The second thing I would say to people is your faith must be real. It's not just the things you read in the Bible about somebody else's story. When you're going through a hard time, when something bad happens to you, don't cry and say, "Why me, Lord?" Say, "Why not me, Lord?" Meet it with a positiveness and a bravery and courage and fight. Because out of your story will come out as inspiration for others. And that's what my life is all about. Every day I wake up, it's a new day. It's a wonderful day. I am here today because God performed a miracle for me, and He can do it for you.
Wow, thank you so much for joining us and sharing your incredible story, Candace. If you want to learn more about this story, you can check out the Canadian Adventist Messenger Magazine. Thank you for joining us today on Messenger. David's story shows us the power of a heart filled with thanksgiving, and I hope you feel inspired to give thanks in every moment of your life. If today's discussion has inspired you, consider subscribing to the Canadian Adventist Messenger Magazine. You can receive a free subscription through your local Seventh-day Adventist Church in Canada, or opt for a yearly subscription for just $20. You can also make a difference by becoming an agent of hope and supporting this ministry. Your participation helps us continue spreading God's love and message of hope. To donate, visit agentsofhope.ca, where you can give by debit, credit, Apple Pay, or Google Pay. E-transfers are also accepted at agentsofhope@hopetv.ca. You can mail a check payable to Hope Channel Canada to the following address: Hope Channel Canada, 1148 King Street East, Oshawa, Ontario, L1H 1H8. Or give us a call at 1-855-4HOPE-TV. That is 1-855-446-7388. Thank you for watching, and remember, a heart of thanksgiving is a gift we can all offer to God. Keep spreading hope and being a messenger in your community.